Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the first game of a new series between this is going to be a series of replays where we're going to be going over some training games. So these were played in a training tournament for the Rat Clan, and we're going to be talking about the games, talking about the builds, talking about why the game turned out the way it is. Starting off, we have a game between Greenskin Supremacist and Space Pope in a Greenskin versus Grand Cathay matchup. I actually just recently played this match and had it casted on Turin's channel, and also had a friend do a joking commentary on it. So basically, I'm an expert in the matchup because I lost it from the Greenskin side. So let's just look at the builds real quick. I won't spend a lot of time on them, but let's just kind of get a feel for the army. So the Greenskins army is a little bit wider with a lot of orc boys, a couple gobos. That's a regular. So these are all orc boys. I saw a couple goblins there. Okay, so we have a couple goblins on the side. The Gorbad, and he has his orcs are the best, so just his buffs, and his the Great Leader buff. And for the spells, it's probably Itchy Nuisance and okay, Itchy Nuisance, Sneaky Stabbing. Then we have a few skirmishers, including the R1 with the AP missiles. And then from the Space Pope side of things, he brought the Celestial General. This is the same tech that Used played against me with the sweep and the roar, the fearsome roar with the -8 leadership. This thing causes terrorists. It's pretty good in this greenskin matchup. It's not super squishy, but not super high HP either. Yeah. Then two cannons, some Jade Warriors, a single. This is the ROR with the fire damage. Maybe this is for like trolls or something. Perhaps just an archer. I guess it does have this weakness to fire too, so that helps. And two cannons, a Jade Warrior, and Astromancer with Curse of the Midnight Wind and Wind Blast. Okay, so that's an unusual one. You don't see that often, but maybe this is for winning fights against Boar Boys. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, so the way this matchup usually goes is that Grand Cathay can be bodied by Greenskins. So I would say this is usually a little bit harder of a matchup for Grand Cathay. And yeah, let's talk about it just for a second. I used to do this when I was doing the training builds or the training tournament videos. We always start before the battle even begins. We want to think about what you should be doing. So before you make any of your major decisions, so choosing where to put your units is a major decision. It's fine to move them up, but you want to be thinking about how you want to play the matchup. So for example, let's say that you're Greenskins and you loaded in and you wanted to, go unga bunga. Let's say that you even didn't have these archers and you wanted to just go for a really aggressive build. You look at this build and you say, okay, well, there's only two cannons. So maybe I'm not thinking about trying to collapse on valuable range units because the cannons are going to stay pretty far back. Similarly, from the Grand Cathay side, before we even begin the battle, we're looking at our opponents saying, okay, our opponent has a lot of orc boys. We have a lot of Jade Warriors. He also has some Skirm Cav. What can we do already to kind of start countering this army? So some things that might make sense against like this sort of archer, maybe we're summoning the Croman or some Cav to put some early pressure on. Something like that, especially to bait out some summons from the Grand Canyon. There's a couple of different options you could be thinking about at this point from Grand Cathay. I think from both sides' perspective, if you're Grand Cathay, I think you're happy to go to the points. I want to say that your Jade Warriors are going to trade okay. That said, you're not going to have Harmony because your cannons are going to be pretty far back. So you might want to be considering the placement of your artillery. And from the Greenskin side of things, I think you're happy to play this. You probably want to be thinking about summoning some of your armor piercing units, because there's a lot of armor in this front line, or even just something to try to get on these cannons early. In general, cannons shouldn't be ignored unless they don't have good targets. And you might argue that they don't have good targets because of the we have just mostly infantry, and it takes a while for infantry to go through infantry. As Grand Cathay, I will say that I don't want Grand Cathay not to move on the points yet. I want Grand Cathay to take at least 1 or 2 of the points, because we don't have that many range units to begin with. Our units should trade okay, like a Jade Warrior should trade okay into an Orc Boy. So I want to make sure we at least capture 1 point at the beginning. Otherwise, you'll start the game off with many fewer points, and that's kind of like an unnecessary concession at this point in the game. So this is a little too conservative for me, and even the cannons probably could stay back a little bit further if we're worried about things getting on the cannons. Like we could probably almost already be capping 0.3, or just, you know, doing a little bit of blob in 0.2. Likewise, we'll be taking more damage as Grand Cathay than they will be taking in return from our range unit. Our one range unit isn't going to be able to outshoot the archers. It's just a numerical advantage against us. So 3 units of cav. And okay, we have Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. So just talking about, I like to also think about, like, anytime you summon, we're talking about decision points, right? So the first decision point that you make is before the battle. We talked about that one a little bit. The next major decision points are what your summons are going to be. So in terms of what you're summoning and where you're sending them, there is a bit of an advantage if you're watching your opponent's summon units. So we see like a Peasant Horseman, Jade Lancer. So if we're Greenskins, maybe we're looking to get something on top of this. I don't hate these because they'll get on the Grand Cannons. Maybe regular Squigs would be a little better at that. Yeah, so this is another good decision point. And then also, like, we need to decide as the Greenskins, are we engaging? Are we ready to engage? Is this like skirmish phase helping us or hurting us? I would say it's the right decision from the Greenskins not to engage at this point. You are basically out. Like, there is some poke from the Grand Cannons, but you see it's doing very slow. So I think for the Greenskins, it's the correct decision to wait a little bit longer. And maybe for the Grand Cathay, I'm worried that they're gonna really feel soon the point pressure. And I would say that Grand Cathay has a relative advantage here with the Jade Warriors. One thing that we can see also, because there wasn't another ranged unit summon, a lot of these units will not have Harmony. With Harmony, I think they trade fine to the Orc Boys. We can compare the stats for a second. So they have 14 extra melee defense and 50 extra armor, with much higher leadership, but a little bit lower weapon strength with the Harmony. But without the Harmony, it's a lot more of a mixed bag. Here, let's do it in the same orientation. Because now they have +9 melee defense, but less melee attack, and still more armor. So I think that they should still win into the Orc Boys, meaning that they should probably get on the points soon. Celestial General should be a little careful of Gorbad. He's a pretty high AP fighter, really high melee attack. Peasant Horseman should probably lose to a Night Goblin. So the thing about this dive that I would say about this here, especially because maybe it was Greenskin Supremacist who was talking about like when do you dive artillery. If it's uncoordinated, you're gonna have a hard time getting through because there's so much more time for your opponent to think about responses. So if we want to commit, we can at this point still basically ignore these cannons that are still doing only a little bit of damage. Either we ignore them or we're fully committing, we're sending everything in. Because if you just do like a little attack that your opponent has a lot of time to prepare for, they'll be saving up funds for good units that counter your aggressive units. So yeah, you really want to, if you're gonna dive a cannon, dive it completely. Otherwise, let it be. Don't you can't really half do attacking a cannon or like artillery pieces. Minus the cannon, everything seems like it's going pretty well for the greenskins. Like this is not doing that much damage. The archers are these skirm cav are doing a lot. Archers have now beaten the one thing that could answer them, and so now they can poke away at peasants for the rest of the beginning part of the game. So greenskins are actually kind of happily ahead in my opinion. Also saving a lot of funds. I'm not sure if that's for saving up for like something to like squigs or something for a big squig dive. Maybe that's what he's waiting for. I don't hate that idea. I think as greenskins again, you're probably still fine to just kind of chip away at your opponent. Now those vulnerable things are looking a lot more juicy. For Space Pope 2, the reason that the one goblin was able to get on it was because the peasant horseman came from this side and got a side charge, so they were still able to move through. Where the Jade Lancer came from the correct summon spawn and was able to stop it. Celestial General is just still having fun. Not doing much value, but having a good time. A little cautious there. Probably not having them on guard mode is what did this. With the spear unit there, it's probably fine. Now Gorbad's going to put in a lot of damage to the Celestial General. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like the Celestial General actually does have it's pretty squishy. With the Itchy Nuisance as well. That's a nice combo. And then does Gorbad have any? So the two spells together, I really like that. Sneaky Stabbing on the Lord Sniper and Itchy Nuisance on the thing getting sniped, letting you put out a lot of damage at once. So like 600 and maybe like 10 seconds. It's a really good pick. And yeah, it does look like the kind of dynamic happened where now the Space Pope has realized that he has to come out and fight. Once the battle is like kind of underway, we'll talk about the middle game because that's like the next major inflection point, if you will. So it's a range unit. So you might want to just like preemptively throw that down. Curse the Midnight Wind. Oh, it is down. Good timing with the Croman. Should clean up these archers. I will just say briefly that I mean I guess some of these are goblins, so it's fine to leave a couple there, but probably want to just get them engaged too already. Leave just maybe just the one spear unit there to defend. And what we really want is an Orc Boy unit on this Peasant Long Spear. We could even like swap these ones out if we have the micro for it. Black orc to the center makes sense. Reinforce a point that we're kind of losing some of our infantry. This is how I lost. This is one of the ways that I lost against Used was that the Celestial General with the sweep like KO'd an entire, I think it was even the Ara War unit. It just landed in the middle and then did one sweep and it just one shot at the entire unit. That's dangerous. Okay, we got it through. So talking about the dives earlier, I'll just make one more comment about this. Now that all of the units are engaged here, it's a lot harder to free up supplies to defend the cannons. You'll notice, especially now that a Jade Warrior recently came out, we can slide two things through. So it really does matter if you're, doing a partial, like a partial dive or a full dive. And so now the full dive is looking a lot more viable, although getting stuck a little bit, stuck here and stuck there. Yeah, look how much these units have taken. One of them is just taking that on the spear alone. The Space Pope with pretty good reactions, honestly, on stopping the dive. Good, quick movements. All right, I'm gonna talk about transitioning a game like this for the Greenskins because um, we've kind of gotten to another one of those inflection points. The thing is that because Grand Cathay fought just off the points and ceded a really large, they set up like here, and all the points were here, here, and here. They've ceded so much time, so much point pressure. And the thing about doing that, if you're not sure that you're going to be trading up, you're trading down because in value you might be fine, but points are just going to matter so much. It makes your opponent's plan way more comfortable and easy. Um, as the Greenskins, what I'm doing at this point is I'm saying, hey, I have an advantage here. My units I have cap weight here. I've got strong units here. I'm blocking units from coming from the center to the middle. And I'm also holding points over here. At this point, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm looking at the value. I'm probably summoning more cap weight, more capture weight, just everything to the middle, and maybe just like something cheap to hold the side. Because at this point, my plan is to hold this as long as possible. Still try to trade up. It's not like we're giving up on the game. Hold this point as long as possible, and then thinking about moving to this point at the last second and just having like a small like a small formation like this that blocks you off of the point. But already at this point, it's going to be an uphill battle, and I just ignore this point, right? You don't have to be greedy here. You just say it's going to be easier for me to fight on 2 points and try to defeat my opponent in detail. As Grand Cathay, knowing that this is your opponent's plan, you need a point, and you need a point now. Each like when you're already in a triple cap scenario, and the triple cap scenario happens 750 to 0, in case you don't know the math. It becomes exponentially more important that you capture a point as the game goes on. So at this point, I'm already thinking, hey, I need to capture this point as soon as I can. You know, don't give up the fight here, but I want to capture this point as soon as I can. And then I'm already looking to kind of undermine this wall here and say, like, I'm not necessarily going to fight there. I'm going to maybe send like a peasant horseman or something to this side so that I can capture this. Meanwhile, I'm absolutely trying to win this. And then, hopefully, if both of those things go well, you collapse into the center at the end. Much easier to have the center be the last point too than the sides, because you can get flanked in the center much easier. So yeah, I like this idea of sending the general over to try to route these units. This unit needs to get here, and these cab units probably going over here to control point 1. And then maybe the peasant horseman over here too. Basically all hands on deck now to get capture points. Every little like bit of decision that you can do. So like this is like almost desperate, like a desperate scenario for Grand Cathay. So rear, like really lining up the rear charge to get that extra penalty, that extra leadership penalty, is really important. Getting your roar off, maybe surrounding with this unit, bringing this unit in. Those little things matter a lot when you have very little health or very little time left. Like, see how I like looked away for a second? It was 100 points. I look back up, it's 900 points. At this point in the battle, it's just like it's crucial for Grand Cathay to win points, and everything should be focused on achieving that. And also shows why it's relatively important not to let your opponent get not let your opponent like have the 3 points for that long for free. It's a good pick. Celestial Seat. Okay, so now he's done this. He's gotten the rear charge. Wow, that did so much damage. All right. The corollary to getting all of your units on the points as fast as possible is to not let your units die, because you need the leadership if you're gonna be desperate. You know, see, he's actually already doing it. Nearly he is winning. Space Pope, that is. Getting the points over here. He's won the center. He'll take this point minus this. But now he has to deal with the leadership. So maybe the corollary to what I was saying was that do everything you can, unless it means that you're going to lose your lord, which honestly, like I do a very fine line in critical moments like this. So sometimes it's hard to say exactly when you can afford it, when you need to hold back. All right, as Greenskins, you've broken your opponent's lord. You have a lot less infantry than your opponent. I don't think we necessarily need things like squig hoppers anymore. Squig hoppers are really good at clearing out infantry, but what we've done is we've switched from a game where we have to value trade as Greenskins to now we can like only we can focus on just capturing points. So I like the squig summons, but I don't like the squig hopper summons. So I would prefer like, you know, 2 squigs and like more orc boys at this point to sending everything to point 3 and trying to hold. Or if you have an orc boy biggin, we can be summoning orc boys instead of the hoppers to deal with all of the mobility and try to play like out mobility our opponent. But we don't need the like heavy hitting armor piercing of this, because the infantry is like kind of low. Maybe we summon one of them, but we really need to get on the points. Just have to out cap our opponent. This might already be too late. It's hard to say. I guess we've flipped the capture weight now. You could put one squig on here, but I would probably try to move them through to 0.3 just to maintain capture weight. This Jade Warrior will take a while to clear out. You can't risk having one of the squigs rampage at this point.
Take it back.
So I guess this is probably one of my few last comments about this game. The question is, can Greenskins win this game? I'm gonna say that Greenskins are gonna lose. Even with the Lord penalty, the Lord loss penalty, I think what's gonna happen is Grand Cathay is gonna be able to move all of their units to 0.3, and Greenskins are not going to be able to get there in time. As the Greenskins, if you suspect that that might be the case, you can start saving up supplies and just do a quick strike here, because you don't need to hold that long, right? Well, it also depends what you have in the pool. You could summon a couple of the skirmish cav, or even just summon the skirmish cav here just to take the point real quick. Kind of depends. A little hard to say what your winning strategy is here. Maybe it's just better to stay on here, but I'm fearing this tide of things moving towards you and being able to outcap the point. Yeah, it's hard to say what's the best idea. You do have the leadership advantage. I really wish I'd seen an Orc Boy Biggin, at least one, just to counter all these cav units. Might still be possible here if like these squigs are able to kill the Onyx Crowman. It's gonna be very close if they manage it. There's an Orc Boy Biggin. Maybe just like every summon after this is just Skirm Cav. Just to get there sooner. So, still holding it. And yeah, so if Grand Cathay had gotten on the point sooner, it would have been they wouldn't have been in this scenario where they had to desperately outplay their opponent. And I think this was one of the few scenarios where the build was strong enough to counter the Greenskin builds that they could have, made that engagement earlier. Might still be possible. These are good quality units. But now they have to value trade. Like at this point of the battle, do you just bring lots of chaff to the thing just to capture the point, or do you try to grind? I mean, you still have so much time to grind. Now it's looking way more juicy to do just sort of like a skirm cav strike on this point. To summon 3 skirm cav, it's like, 1k, 1.5k just to quickly cap this point. Maybe you do like a sneaky, like if you have like a sneaky get, you could summon the sneaky get and throw it to that point. The Lord being resummoned should end the battle, though, I think. Because now the biggest advantage that the Greenskins had is now no longer present. Had the cap wait for a second. It's still a game. You don't have to hold it for very long. Gorbat dies, this is probably game over. With all this units coming in. Yeah, they get it. Still, Gorbat could just straight up die. Gonna be very close to see who wins this. Now we're in the kind of the grind fest, right? We don't really. Well, I think what Greenskins are doing well here, and sometimes I do this too, do like a mid to late game Black Orc summon, just to have like more stopping power. These ones actually haven't done the best. Maybe the AP ones are better, um, but a lot higher quality units. We have some good units from Grand Cathay. I can't help but feel this is going to kind of clear out. And then Grand Cathay might win this again. They don't have a lot of time to do it, though. That sleep should be huge. And now the terror is going to be really tough to deal with. Now we have the Desperation Skirmcav. A little too late, I think. The Peasant Horse. Somehow they still have cap weight. Hard to say, but maybe this Jade Lancer is needed over here. Maybe can't afford to have it chasing the Gorbad. But yeah, that terror out should do it. I mean, it's still a game, honestly. But see, like, I guess this is the last time I'll say it, but the Grand Cathay wouldn't have had to deal with this if they had gotten on the point earlier. They could have just continued to trade. I've also noticed that Greenskins is not a good faction for like a final push. This would be a nice time to have a nasty Sulker. But if Gorbad routes off the battlefield, Greenskins are not going to have a good time. I'm surprised Space Pope isn't reacting to this sooner. You might even consider moving the Jade Warrior over. The points aren't that far from each other. A little bit of a desperation play here. I mean, we're literally just, as Space Pope, you just want to select all your units and right click over here. Maybe with the Croman too, like small micro thing, you could just be blocking up the Orc Boys. This doesn't have capture weight, but these do. It's okay to like lose them. You don't need to hold it point for very long. This Jade Warrior probably would have already been to this point by now. Even still, I mean, you probably just want to hold the squig off, honestly. You don't need to charge it. Yeah, with the terror now that Gorbad is dead. Wow, so Greenskins actually feel like they're pulling it out. Or I mean, Grand Cathay. Close game. A lot of points where like little decisions made big difference. Funny enough, it felt like Grand Cathay had more infantry because they have so many Jade Warrior. Oh, and Celestial I didn't even notice that was the Celestial Dragon Guard. Felt like Grand Cathay had more infantry than Greenskins, which is a rare occasion. It is a testament to how wide they went and not bringing any very many archer units. But okay. So yeah, the big things in this battle were the Lord snipes. Both players did Lord snipes. Um, that was difficult. I think in the early game, Greenskins had the better play. The cannons just weren't enough DPS. Like you can see, like this cannon is probably the one that got shot down. But even after shooting like its entire ammo the entire game, it got 1,000. Um, Greenskins with a little bit of a overextended rush on the cannons, and the Grand Cathay fighting off the points. However, in the middle game, I think we saw the wrong summons frequently for the mobility. Like I think we saw the squig hoppers too many times. You can see like some of these got double summons. Um, they did not do amazing. They didn't do terrible, honestly, but they didn't do amazing. I think I would have liked to have seen the Orc Boy Biggins come out sooner, and maybe both Orc Boy Biggins to deal with the Cav, because granted they just felt like they had an infantry advantage, they felt like they had a mobility advantage, um, and I think that should be the Greenskins role. I mean, granted the cannons were there, but maybe we could have done a better job as like an overall plan for Greenskins. Have more pressure on the cannons, more concentrated pressure on the cannons, so that we can win the mobility game in the mid game. Um, and then Grand Cathay would have had a hard time dealing with that. Meanwhile, from Grand Cathay, I liked the formation play. Like I felt like the formations were tight. I think our points awareness could be a little better from Grand Cathay, and our awareness of the general. I mean, that always happens. Hard, easier to say than to do. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought the mobility went pretty well, and I thought this was a great game to watch. It was really interesting to see the dynamics of the lords, and I like that both teams brought spells that were area of effect spells. I thought that was really cool, especially the combo of Itchy Nuisance and Sneaky Stab, and I really liked that. So yeah, great game, and this is round one of the training tournament, and we'll have future videos for the later rounds. So look forward to seeing you all there. All right, till next time.